Hi guys, so by now you've probably heard of the Canon EOS R5, and if you haven't, let me just get you caught up a little bit. Canon recently announced, well, they didn't really announce, they announced that they're developing a new Canon R full frame mirrorless camera. They just announced that they're developing it. There's some pictures and the specs have basically leaked or have been leaked by Canon online, so there's a lot of information out there, even though there hasn't been an official announcement yet. The Canon R is basically the next in the line of Canon full-frame mirrorless bodies. And the specs look pretty good, it's very exciting. So we'll kind of go through them, we'll talk about them. And I want to compare it to the 5D4 that I used to shoot with and the Canon R that I've been shooting with for almost a year now. And anytime I look at a new camera or any kind of new camera gear, I'm always thinking, do I need this feature, that feature, whatever it is, do I really need that? So we'll kind of let that play along with all these features as we talk about them here. One of the biggest complaints about the Canon R, and I love this camera, from not just me, but really everybody in the community, was it's not really a pro body. It had the same sensor as the 5D4. It had a lot of great features in it. It's a lot of fun to use, but it's not really a pro body. The Canon R5 really makes up for that. It really is a professional body. You know, as far as what the look of it and the ergonomics and the specs, it really looks like it's going to be a solid pro body. First thing that stood out to me right away was 2 card slots. The Canon 5D4 had 2 card slots. The 1DX series has 2 card slots. The Canon R did not have just 1 card slot. It's very important to me to have 2 card slots. I know a lot of people say no big deal. You can just use multiple cards, back them up, you know, back things up to your phone as you go along. I've lost images before. 2 card slots is a huge deal for me. That in itself is a huge upgrade over the Canon R, having 2 card slots. No word yet on what kind of cards they're going to be, whether it's the new faster type of cards that it'll take or the old cards. You may need to start investing in some new memory cards to get caught up on that, but 2 card slots to me is a huge deal. Next thing is, this isn't really as big a deal to me, 45 megapixels. That's a lot of megapixels. I've shot, you know, with my 24 megapixel cameras in the past and blown it up to, you know, 6 feet by 4 feet prints that looked amazing. You don't need 45 megapixels. If a new camera has 45 megapixels, I'm going to use them all. It's actually great for if you want to crop parts of your picture out. You know, you get a lot more resolution, a lot more information in smaller crops of your images. 45 megapixels is a lot. The Canon 5D4 had 30, 32 or so. The Canon R has 30, more than enough. So that's not really a reason to upgrade right there, but it's, you know, it's nice to have. Another really nice feature, looks like it's going to be a really great thing to use, is the high speed frame rate, the frames per second, continuous shooting. You can shoot up to 20 frames per second using the electronic shutter. Using the mechanical shutter, I think it's 12 frames a second, something like that, which is really fast in itself. 20 frames per second is crazy fast. For me, I don't really shoot a lot of sports. I don't really shoot a lot of fast moving action, so that's not a huge deal for me. But I'm only getting, on my R, I'm only getting like 5 frames a second, which is a little on the slow end. The 5D4 was better. The Canon R with the 5 or so frames a second is kind of slow. So I'm gonna like having, even if I choose the mechanical shutter at 12 frames per second, is gonna be a huge improvement over the Canon R. For me, it's probably just gonna mean that instead of having 1,000 images from a day, I'm going to have 2,000 images from a day, most of which I don't use. They're always in between shots, but in very certain situations, especially moving action, especially shooting you know, people when their faces are changing and things, you're trying to get a candid moment. Sometimes getting that 1 split second, you know, right in between 2 shots is the one that's going to either make or break a photo. You know, getting that perfect facial expression, that perfect body movement, getting that 1 shot sometimes makes or breaks a photo. So it's nicer to have, if you're going to be shooting, you know, high speed continuous shots, to have as many frames per second as you could possibly get. So 20 is a huge number. You know, that basically catches it up with the Sony. It should be really nice. The biggest thing for me though, other than the 2 card slots, which for me is really important, is the Embody image stabilization. This is supposed to have IBIS, which Sony has had, the Nikon mirrorless has had it now. I've tried it out on those cameras. It's really amazing to be able to shoot at 1 second exposures handheld and get nice, crisp, clear shots. It's really amazing. So they're saying combining, you know, the in-body stabilization with a stabilized lens is going to give you 6, 7, 8 stops of stabilization, which you're going to be able to shoot 1 or 2 second exposures handheld. That's really a game changer. To be able to shoot in the dark, to be able to shoot, I shoot a lot of waterfalls, and anytime I need more than a quarter of a second, which is in most situations with waterfalls, you want to have at least a second. To be able to shoot those handheld and not have to set up a tripod and be able to get different angles and different situations where you wouldn't be able to set up a tripod, that could really be a game changer. To shoot indoors, to shoot dark scenes, you're not going to be able to freeze movement with it. If you're shooting indoors and you're moving on like a dark ride or something, it might not help that much, but to be able to shoot 1 or 2 second exposures basically in the dark and to get it nice and crisp and clear and not blurred and stabilized, that to me is the biggest thing. The in-body image stabilization, that's probably the number one feature. I love the 2 card slots. That's probably the number one feature for this camera. Another interesting thing is 8K video recording. To me, I don't really, other than this, record much video, and I don't need more than 4K video. I think I'm shooting this on 4K right now. Normally we even shoot these on 1080p. For this, it's 4K is more than enough. 8K, if you need it, this should have it. Great. For me, it's not really a big thing, but 8K video, and you can be able to shoot, at a faster frame rate, even in 4K. So you can maybe do some slow motion stuff in 4K. The cropping might be better. For me, like I said, not a huge thing. But if video is a big thing for you and 8K is a big deal, 8K for this, big deal. No real word on ISO sensitivity or dynamic range or anything, but the Canon R sensor was based on the Canon 5D4 sensor, which was kind of a 3 or 4 year old sensor at that point. So it really wasn't an upgrade sensor wise from the 5D4 to the R. So I would imagine the sensor, as far as those other things go, is going to be at least as good as the Canon R. I would imagine it's going to be better just because there's been a few years, there's got to be some improvement. So I'm looking forward to seeing the high ISO performance on that. I'm getting really nice shots now with the Canon R at 6400. Usable shots above that in certain situations, but to be able to push it even beyond that, and if we're getting really great high ISO shots and we're able to use the in-body image stabilization, and I can shoot basically in the dark, if I can really crank my ISO up and I can shoot 1 or 2 second exposures, possibilities are limitless. You can basically shoot in the dark like that. So I'm looking forward to the high ISO performance, seeing what that looks like. And then ergonomically, it looks like it's going to be more like the 5D4 that I had. The Canon R had that touch bar, which I disabled. I don't use it at all for anything. I don't know if anybody does. I never really liked it. I loved having on the 5D4 the scroll wheel, that dial in the back, which I was able to zip through images and through other settings really quickly using that, and the joystick. The biggest thing for me on the 5D4 that I missed going to the R was the joystick, to be able to put my thumb on that and move focus points around really quickly. With the R, you had to do it on the screen. You had to put your thumb on the screen and swipe, and you couldn't really get it from one end to the other in one swipe, so you're multiple swiping, and it took a lot of getting used to, and I never really got used to it. I never really liked how that works. So if the joystick is really on there, and it looks like it is, I'm gonna love having the joystick back. Speaking of focus points, the Canon R had, I don't know, thousands of focus points. It doesn't matter. It basically had a focus point on every part of the screen. So I'm hoping this is the same thing. 5,000, 6,000 focus points is more than enough, as long as I can kind of focus anywhere on the screen. And if I can do so quickly with the joystick, that'll be great. I've been saying for a while now, I would love to see one of those little ball rollers like they had like on the old Blackberries, because then you could really zip around from one point to another. I don't know weather sealing, how that would work or anything, but I'll take the joystick. So that could be another great thing. Ergonomically, it looks, like I said, more like the 5D4 than it does the EOS R. So I kind of think maybe this is kind of a joining of those two lines. I don't know if they're going to develop a 5D Mark V now. It looks like maybe these two lines are joining together, and now it's going to be the R5, R5 Mark II eventually, because the features and design and ergonomics seem a lot more like the 5D. So for me, reasons to upgrade would be the 2 card slot, the 2 card slots, right? 2 card slots, not a 2 card slot, 2 card slots. That's huge for me. The in-body image stabilization, I think, is going to be great. I do a lot of low light shooting. It's going to be great for me for that. and the ergonomics, getting the joystick back, and the scroll wheel is great, but the joystick, I absolutely loved using it on the 5D4. I think if it's got it on this and it works the same way, I'm gonna love using it there. So for me, those are the really big reasons to upgrade. Price-wise, I don't know. It's, you know, the price of the Canon R was really, you know, kind of low. It's probably selling for $1,800 now, which is a steal, I think. I think this is going to be closer to the 5D price point, which is probably going to put it over $3,000, probably $3,300 to $3,500. It's, you know, you can get 2 Canon Rs for one of these. I think they're going for more of a 5D price point, more of the pro body, which might, you know, take a lot of people out of the game, but you got to look at what you're getting. You're getting basically the pro level body that we've been looking for on the Canon full frame mirrorless line is basically what you're getting here. So all in all, looks really promising. I'm really looking forward to the official announcement and to see exactly what these features are going to end up being. I'll try it out. I think I'm probably going to end up getting it once it's released in the summer, because it's just going to bring back the feel and usefulness of the 5D4 controls, along with the great features and fun that I'm having using the Canon R. So that's it. It's kind of very exciting. I know we talk about gear here a lot and how, you know, the actual gear isn't as important as some of the other parts of photography, but you know, when you see something like this come out and it's not necessarily going to, these features aren't really going to necessarily improve your photography, but they're not going to get in the way and inhibit you of the things that you're trying to do. For example, if you want to shoot a 1-second exposure right now, you've got to find a place to prop up your camera or get out your tripod, and it's going to slow you down. And to be able to just shoot through a situation without having to stop and do that, that's something that's going to actually, not, like I said, not improve your photography, but kind of get out of the way to helping you do what you want to do. And that's the kind of stuff that I look for when I'm looking at new gear. So any comments or anything you have, put them down below. Love to hear your thoughts on this. Looking forward to more information coming out, and we'll do some more videos as more information is released, and hopefully get our hands on one of these things pretty soon. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.